This is part 4 of how the Indigenous nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy laid the blueprint for one of the most agriculturally rich landscapes in the Northeast, and how that foundation gave rise to one of the most prominent wine regions in the country, the Finger Lakes. So in the last video, we talked about how the Haudenosaunee spent centuries developing very sophisticated systems of agriculture and land stewardship that was able to sustain their communities for generations. But by the early 1600s, European nations like the Dutch, British, and French had arrived in the Northeast. And these colonial powers had a shared agenda to claim new territory, establish trade networks, and extract resources back to Europe. And of course, the land that they had arrived on had already been home to indigenous nations centuries before. Now, what developed between the European settlers and Haudenosaunee nations was not immediately hostile, but it was never without an ulterior motive. See, on the surface, it looked like a formal diplomatic relationship built on mutual economic benefit. The Europeans wanted access to furs and land routes, and the Haudenosaunee wanted access to European goods such as textiles, firearms, and metals. And in 1613, the Haudenosaunee and Dutch had formalized that relationship with the Two Row Wampum Treaty. The philosophy behind the treaty was simple but profound. Two people, two vessels, traveling the same river side by side, neither one steering in the other's course. So coexistence without interference. And on paper, the relationship of peaceful trade and mutual economic benefit lasted for about 150 years. But colonial powers don't show up to coexist, they show up to conquer. And the Haudenosaunee were sitting on some of the most fertile, cultivated, and agriculturally rich land that they had stewarded in the Northeast. And as Europeans took stock of everything that this land has to offer, they also noticed that the land was capable of supporting wild grapevine. And for a culture where wine was central to everyday life, they were not going to just simply overlook this.